Hello, Dave Monig, back here with Coast Airbrush TV, and with us again, back in the studio, Mr. Mike Taylor from House of Color.
How you doing, buddy?
Always good having you here, as I always say.
I say the same thing.
Anyway, what we're going to talk to you guys today about is the House of Color Shimmer 2 line, but we're going to focus on one particular area. We've been doing a lot of these little breakout videos in hopes that we can kind of shed some light on exactly what this stuff is.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Shimmer 2 carrier bases. And of course, the effects that go inside there.
Yeah.
What's a carrier base?
Well, what we want to do before we jump too far ahead is we want to give you guys the basics again.
Yep.
The carrier base with the effect. This is a very easy system. It's just one part going into the other part. It's not anything more than that, but you can create whatever you like with this.
That's the
So
beauty.
let's talk about that, Dave.
Well, a carrier base, what it actually is a semi-transparent base coat.
Yes.
That means that it could cover over a white and you can get a solid color, but it's not going to be really, really good coverage until you add the effect.
Right, that's what gives it its opaqueness.
That's what's going to make it cover. Now, there are situations where you might want that, and that's the creativity and the millions and millions and millions of things that you can do with this paint line and experiment with it.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and show you guys how easy it is to add one effect into one of these carrier bases. But before we do that, what do you say we go over just the different effects?
Yeah, let's do that. We actually got them set up here. So what we have, the first line is what we call our Metalooms. And Metalooms are pretty simple. They are the metallics. They're just a silver metallic. We have 5. We have a super fine, a fine, the standard BC, which is the medium metallic, the FBC, which is our standard fine, and then we have a coarse. And let's talk about the coarse, Dave.
Well, let's talk about the coarse. But before you go any further with that, for anybody that's used to the House of Color line, you can still make the original House of Color. I wanted to kind of let them know that.
Absolutely.
And the only metallics that they really had come in fine and medium.
FBC and BC.
So these are really, really cool. Really, really cool because you have that coarse, you have that super fine, you have that super silver.
Right.
You can do things that you've never seen
So now
before.
you can actually tweak your standard base coat that you used to buy in the past. Your BC or FBC, all it is one of our silver metallics. But again, now we have 5, so you can make that one base 5 different ways.
And that coarse is phenomenal. We often use that on our ground coat, mix it in with one of our carrier bases, whichever color, and we're putting our candy over the top. When we get into candies, it looks like you're looking into a solar system.
Yeah, it has a little, exactly. It has a lot more pop than the standard medium.
Yep, we have another video on Coast Airbrush TV that we did with Nub, and it was really, really awesome to work with him and even Rhino, and we did a bike for FBS tapes, and that one actually has a candy red over it, over the top of a planet green with the coarse in there.
No,
phenomenal.
Gorgeous.
Unbelievable. I love that color. So, okay, we've got the metallics.
So we got the metallics. We have 5 metallics now. Then we have what we call basically our cosmines. Now, if you're familiar with the PVC line, the PVCs are all pretty much built with a cosmine in it. These are our earth tones, our brasses, coppers, things of that nature. So these are very high opaqueness to them. Very high.
High and opaque, but also very attractive and very dimensional. A lot of depth with the Cozy.
Yeah, and they're very smooth. The
very smooth. Yeah, exactly. So, and then of course we're moving on to the
cosmetic styling pearls. Now these are kind of basically like our old dry pearls, basically. They're very smooth. They're very iridescent. They blanket very nice. So they're very, very clean. For those hot rod guys, love
What's great also about this being in liquid form, no mess when you're trying to measure.
Yeah, that's
so we actually have the mixing spoons
you can
that
actually
you can buy,
near it,
or you can steal the spoons out of your wife's kitchen,
do that all
kitchen,
the time.
kind of borrow those for mixing paint. I know my wife likes to yell at me if I'm doing that.
Yeah,
but that's what's great about these is that it's easy to measure increments, so you can document very easily.
Yeah,
we all know how messy and how hard it is to document.
And we actually have the House of Color mixing spoons.
Yep.
They go from a quarter teaspoon all the way up.
They're great.
So that's fantastic. Then we get into kind of the bling factor, and that's our Metajewel line. This is probably close to be one of my favorite parts of the line.
Pretty awesome stuff.
Because you can actually make a metal flake look with this thing and not have to do a metal flake job. I mean, people are blown away when I'm doing clinics and they're like, there's no way you're going to get a metal flake look out of it.
And everything lays below the tape edge.
Yeah.
And you can even get a frosted look. I often describe it when we use a lot of the Metajewels, it starts to become kind of frosted and looks completely different than flake.
Right.
But what is it exactly? It's like an 8-sided pearl.
Yeah, it's cut
like
more like a sphere, so you're getting dynamic bling out of every light source that you're in. So instead of a flake being flat, you're getting a dynamic out of every
And what I love about it is when you do have those days where it's really shaded and you've got that effect inside there, the car could be black with the Metajewels either in it or over it. And what you're going to see is it's not going to distort the color.
Right.
It's not going to look like little black
It doesn't look salt
bits of dirt in there like we tend to get with a traditional flake look. So it masks it and disguises it until it hits the sun, and then what happens? Bam!
Yeah, looks
So
fantastic.
it's an awesome little product that they have there. And of course, last but not least,
this one I like to call the secret weapon, Dave.
This is the secret
Sparks.
weapon.
The
I don't
Sparks,
often
Dave.
like to tell people
I
about
don't
it.
either. Maybe we should just hide this. This is it. We're going to hide the label on it. No, actually what it is, it's called Cosmic Sparks. Now, if you like the subtleness of our pearl, but you want some bling in the light source, Sparks is the way to go, Dave.
It's elegance. It's like, as I describe it all the time, it's like a pearl on steroids. It's got elegance, it's got roll, so it doesn't glitter like the Metajewels or a flake, but it rolls. It kind of has a subtle little roll, a little bit more than what you'd get from a standard pearl.
It's a dancing blanket, man.
It's awesome. Snow White's my favorite, and of course gold.
Oh, yeah.
Snow White and gold.
Yeah.
But they have the other colors. How many other colors do we have again?
I think there's six into that line.
6 of the Sparks. Yeah.
6 of the Sparks.
So those can go inside of any one of the colored carrier bases. And as we have right here, you know, this isn't a Sparks, but this is just an example real quick of the Alani Orange, which is a beautiful new orange on the House of Color line. And then we have the Ember Orange effect, which is nothing more than a traditional styling pearl. So this isn't in the sun, so you're not going to see the luster of it, but it's actually very, very cool color.
It is.
It's a nice burnt orange. And
exactly.
I've often talked to people about this color that are searching for certain candies. And they say, I want that burnt orange, but sometimes come up short in the look of the candy. And that's what this speed shape was actually done for.
Is that right?
It was for a customer who was looking for that special color that had that depth.
So did you just do the standard mix, the 3 parts carrier, 1 part?
I did. There's nothing else added or kind of changed or modified. But could we, Mike?
Absolutely.
And we haven't talked about that yet.
No, well, let's jump right in.
It's like the other best part and the other best part all the time.
So again, we want to kind of keep things simple for you, just to kind of give you a little rundown of what it is. If you want any of the simple carrier bases, whether you find it in a pocket guide, our new House of Color color book that's coming out, or something that Dave has hanging up on the wall, or something you see on the website, it's most of the stuff we call a standard. 3 parts the carrier base to 1 part the effect. Or if I want the full quart, I take this, I shake it up, I dump it in there, I stir it up, and there's that color.
So when you get these cans and they seem like they're not all the way full, they're that way for a reason.
That's
just
by
so
design.
that you can simply put that right into there, and there's your color. Bam, you're ready to go.
Ready to go.
It's awesome.
After you do that, you stir it up and you simply reduce it 2 parts your reducer, or excuse me, 1 part reducer to 2 parts the mix.
Correct. Now, I guess we almost need like a drum roll for the next part, which is really, really cool. I'm going to talk to you guys about something that has kind of changed the way that we even paint. A couple of things actually, but first off, let's just say you want to create the first ever metallic pearl Metajewels orange. You can do that.
Yeah.
You could take a percentage of each of these, and you do have that 1 full part.
I know what it's called, Dave. It's called custom painting.
It is. You got me there, Mike. How creative are you? So it is custom painting. You actually have a system that allows you to take those mixing spoons and create colors. And I've often described it as like a pizza. You know, when you order a pizza, what do you like on your pizza? Double pepperoni, double sausage. So the double being that you can add more of one of the effects or less of one of the effects depending upon how you want it to taste. And as you taste that pepperoni pizza or that sausage pizza, you know what it tastes like. So after you use these, that's what's kind of happening is people are kind of getting an idea of what it tastes like, how much to use.
Yeah.
And so Metajewels, we just kind of know by design and after using them, that they're pretty strong.
Very.
So you don't have to use a lot of it. So that's what's really cool
Even
about...
though it looks like you have to, because
it doesn't.
It is almost a psychological thing, like, oh my gosh, it's not that blingy. And then when you spray it in the way that it lays out and suspends, you're like, holy crap, this thing's very bling.
It's very, very bling. And that's where the frost look kind of comes from, then the medium look, and then there's also the light look. And we're not even going to talk about what you can do with these with candies yet, because we're going to save that for another video.
Yeah, we'll save that one for another one.
But it's almost too exciting.
You know, you're right, Dave. You can take 3 parts of any of the carrier bases, and you can intermix these carrier bases, but sometimes you get people start putting together color combinations that just don't start to work. You want to use complementing colors.
It can get muddy, yeah. So you can't really get it muddy adding effects that we've seen so far, but you can because that is not actually like a pigment. It's not like a solid pigment. So you can with these, but you can't with those. So you can get really crazy with the mix, and you still don't have to go to the full parts. You could do 25%, 25%, 25%.
Yep.
No problem. You can leave that extra 25%, which makes up that 1 part.
Sure.
And it's still going to go great. And again, you can test these using the House of Color sealer cards.
That is fantastic.
We keep always loving these things. These are the foundation sealers, which if you watch one of our other videos that we put up on Coast Airbrush TV, kind of covers the foundation of why these are so great and how they save money. And I don't want to make this video too long, so we'll just kind of go through these cards as an example of what you can spray over to check these colors before you actually put it to the vehicle.
So really quick, the top area is just all our primary colors out of the can of our sealers. You simply take your mix, you spray it over it, 48 variations of that color. How easy is that?
What do you think I used over this, Mike?
Ooh. I'm going to say you're making an orange.
Wow. You're really impressed me.
I'm telling you.
He must be listening. That's right. We mixed up an orange version of the sealer, which is our ground coat, and that's what's going to allow me to put this color on very evenly as a pearl. It's going to allow me to get into jam areas and overlap some areas and not have a color variance or see a lot of different kinds of shades.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is that I'm not putting a lot of material, so I'm saving time, I'm saving money, and when it comes to rebolting this thing together,
You're saving millage.
You're saving
You're
millage.
saving millage.
So all around the board, this is just the system that everybody is kind of having to measure up to, in my opinion,
Yeah.
so that they can have something that is going to bring something new to the market and exciting and helps perpetuate it.
Yeah.
Now, there's one other thing we probably haven't talked about, and then we'll let these people go, right?
Absolutely.
Let's get into talking about the carrier base.
All right, the carrier base. You know what?
Nebulae.
This is really the heart of the Shimmerin 2 system. You may only see it as trans nebulae, but it's built into every one of the carrier bases.
Yep.
It actually suspends all this stuff.
Yep.
You know, and it makes it all kind of nuclei
And that's
together.
that white milkiness that you'll see when you open the
Yeah.
can. That
Don't
does
be afraid of
disappear.
that. Don't be afraid of
It's
that.
not bad. Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Because we have a lot of people that will call, a lot of customers that will call us up and say, hey, can I put these effects inside of an inner coat? I'll say, absolutely. It's totally doable. But I'll say the reason that you really shouldn't or that you don't want to, especially on larger objects,
Correct, large.
where you don't want the effect to actually fall out of suspension. That's what that white milkiness is going to do. It's going to hold everything and kind of
Yeah.
suspend it. It's like floating in outer space.
Yeah.
So it's not going to settle in the gun. It's not going to clog up your nozzle.
Right, right.
Works awesome.
And it does. And again, trans nebulae is a 3/4 fill in the quarts. Now in our gallon system, it is a full gallon.
Right.
In the quarts, it's 3/4 full. And there's reasons for that, because when you're starting to add these effects solely to them, we do have a special mixing ratio for this, and we call it a variance. You don't want to do each one of these groups at a 3-to-1. The only ones that you want to do 3-to-1 are the Metalooms. 1 through 5 can be simply take the whole half pint, dump it in there, stir it up.
And that's what's going to make your traditional silver metallics, or
Yeah.
the Orion silvers like
Correct.
you traditionally see in the fine and the medium from the old line of House of Color.
But you need
That's
that
it.
much pigment.
You need a lot.
You need that much loading to get the coverage. But then as things started to grow and time was going on, you know, we started looking at things and we're like, wow, these things are very, very opaque. And first, second coat, they were starting to get the color right away. But by the time you do the third coat, it's looking mottly and milky. So I
Less
took the
coat.
initiative to go back and I reformulated each group with the trans nebulae to get the ultimate sprayability out of it, Dave.
Yep. Yep.
So-
I've seen it happen. It's coming up with that same old analogy that less is more. We're finding more ways to save you money
Yeah.
by using less of what you see right there.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to this entire line and you're painting a variety of different vehicles, motorcycles, artwork, or anything, the really special part about it is that it's very condensed.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to a local job or even at Coast Airbrush. We can inventory up on each one of these items and still have a huge combination of what you can do without having to worry about,
Sure.
wow, I need to paint a car and I need 6 quarts of this, but you only have 5.
Yeah.
We're carrying a lot of each of these particular individual products and allows us to not have the color for you.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. No,
So that works
exactly.
out really, really good.
exactly.
And then, of course, the traditional methods of doing, ghost flames and using these
Yeah.
like you would a dry pearl,
Yep.
you can absolutely just airbrush with this stuff as well.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
really, really
so
cool.
let's continue with the mixing ratios.
Let's do it.
So again, the Metalooms is 3 parts your carrier base, which would be your trans nebulae, to
Yep.
1 part the Metaloom effect. When you start getting to the cosmines, remember I was saying earlier, those are very high impact. We went from a 3-to-1 mixing ratio, check this out, 96 parts the carrier base to 1 part the
Right.
effect. Now that's a huge difference. So guess what? You buy this little half pint, this thing's gonna go a long way.
And you're saving money.
Saving money again.
And time.
We keep
And more
doing that.
durable.
Oh my gosh.
They're
We could go
probably
on and
getting
on with
tired.
that.
They're probably getting tired of us saying that
Probably
all day
so.
long. But it's too exciting not to mention.
Yeah. When you start getting down to the cosmetic styling pearls, these are now 48 parts your carrier base to 1 part the effect. All right?
And this information's all online. You can
Yeah.
go to House of Colors website or even call us here at Coast Airbrush. And we're very often helping people through the process until you kind of develop the language.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to reiterate, you want to go to the V formula on the carrier base only, which would be the trans nebulae, the S2-00 with the effect number. So when you start getting down to the metajoules, Dave, these are at 24-to-1. 24
Right.
parts your carrier base to 1 part the effect, because you need a little bit more of because these are a bigger cut.
They're bigger cut. They're not going to stick as closely together, so you're going to see through little sections. It's going to look
Yep.
a little bit like that. So.
Then we get back down to the sparks, and that also is a 48-to-1. So 48 parts are S2-00 trans nebulae to 1 part the effect. So that breaks it down a little bit easier, kind of shows them what you can do. But hey, if you're doing some small stuff, don't be afraid to add a little more of the effect. When you're talking large stuff, that's when
Right.
you want to use those variance mixing ratios.
so that it's completely even.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about just thinning it down. As
Simple.
simple as adding this effect into this container, like we did for this color right here, for the pearl orange.
Yep.
Okay. We're just going to go.
2 parts our mix,
It's a one
It's a
part
one-part
reducer.
reducer. That's it.
And you can go with the traditional House of Color reducer, either RU310, 311, or 312,
Right.
fast, medium, or slow. Or we do have the compliant reducer over here.
In the low VOC
In the low
areas of
VOC that will work as well.
RU301 and RU300. The 300's for more of a warm weather, excuse me, for the cooler weather, and the 301, excuse me, is for the warm
Which
weather.
is usually the last thing that I mention when I'm trying to actually sell this line to people. Is
Yeah.
that it's low VOC. It's actually called
It
California
is.
compliant low
It
VOC.
is.
I tell people that's the least amount of reason why I would buy it,
Yeah.
but it happens to be one of the important ones for people that
Sure.
are using it in shop conditions.
Sure. Well, if when you pop open these cans of these carrier bases, they're ground down so fine and so clean that airbrushing them with them, Dave, is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, I've used the course through my airbrush through 0.3. It still goes through just
But
fine.
I'm talking just even the carrier base solely.
I know. We could probably sit around here all day and
Yep.
talk about this.
Yeah, I agree.
And as time goes on, Coast Airbrush TV is bringing all kinds of new ways and formulations and things to show you guys what we're learning about it. So it's
Sure.
really infinite. It's really
Yeah.
never going to end. It's going to
Yeah.
keep going and going and going.
And I really promote guys out there on the field. If you're messing with this stuff and you got something cool, call Dave up and let
I'd
him know
love
what
to
you're
hear about
doing,
it.
man. We'd
Yep.
love to talk about it.
Yep. This has been a lot of fun, and I know that you guys are going to enjoy kind of learning about this process and making your own pizzas.
Yeah.
So become a custom painter, buy the House of Color Shimmer too.
Agreed.
Simple as that. Truly custom.
Yep.
All right, Mike. Thanks for coming
Thanks,
by
buddy.
again today.
Thank you.
And I hope you guys have learned something about the House of Color system, and you come back and join us for future videos on Coast Airbrush TV. I'm Dave Monning for Coast TV, and thanks again for watching.